The Tracks, 1965. Uncut. 1. I was warned not to play on the train tracks, so, naturally, I was there all the time. It was a great place to explore alone, and I was always alone. The best spot along the tracks was the black cast-iron bridge for the signal lights, which arched over both the eastbound and westbound lanes. It had a metal ladder along one side, which I was able to climb, and lying flat out on the catwalk, I had a bird's eye view in all directions. I tried to find courage to lie there when a train passed below, but I would always chicken out as soon as I saw the flash of a headlight on the horizon. I was always alone, so there was no one around to laugh at me, so I didn't care. I also liked to walk the tracks, heading west towards the fourth line, out past the factories, to where the farmers' fields were. Nobody was around, nobody could see me, and so nobody was going to bug me. One day I found a dead dog lying beside the tracks. Its head had been ripped off, and the brown fur was covered with hordes of flies. I could actually hear them buzzing before I saw the body. I didn't cry. It wasn't my dog, and I wasn't afraid either. I just looked. But one time, I saw something else. I had to take a piss, so I went down the embankment into the tall grass where I was invisible. And that's when I saw her. She was lying on her back like she was dead, but what really shocked me was the gaping hole at the end of her neck, where the head should have been. She was headless, like the dead dog I had seen that time. Her skin was snow white too, like she'd lost all her blood. Yet, she was still living. I couldn't see her chest moving up and down, so she didn't appear to be breathing, but I knew she wasn't dead. And I was pretty sure I knew what she was. Oh, I did know what she was. I thought I'd better get the heck out of there, but then I saw the purse. I knew I shouldn't do it, that it was wrong to steal, but since the old man died, I didn't get an allowance or anything like that, and there it was, and I opened it. I took $11 in bills, 1 5, 2 2s, 2 1s, and $1.40 in change, closed it, and put it down where I found it. There was stuff in there with her name on it, Linda, but with an Italian last name. I peeled away from there pretty fast, and I didn't look back. When I got back to the plaza, I thought about going to the variety store and using my loot to buy comics or a monster mag, but how would I explain them at home? We only had a small apartment, so Mom was bound to find them and then start asking questions. Questions I wouldn't want to answer. So I settled instead for some barbecue chips and some sweet tarts. I hid the rest of the money in the hidey hole at the bottom of the stairwell. Nobody knew what I did, but I still didn't feel good about it. 2. The bowling alley was in the plaza across the street from our apartment building, and right next to the train tracks. Mom was on a team that bowled every Tuesday night at 8, and as I was a big boy now, she thought it was okay to leave me home alone, with strict instructions to be in bed with the lights out at 8:30. But Mom was never home much before 9:30, so... Not that I did anything too bad. I was just a kid. But I liked to read. My favorite was nonfiction animal books. So I would lie on my bed in my PJs, my Star Trek ones, and read with the bedside lamp on, rather than hiding under the blanket with a flashlight. But this particular Tuesday was the day the day I found the money, and I didn't feel like reading. All I felt like doing was going to sleep, but I was afraid to turn the light off and be lying there, thinking about what I had done. I was glad at least that the bedroom drapes were shut tight. In the end, I decided to go to bed, but leave the light on. I knew Mom would be angry when she came home and found the lamp still burning, but I figured my being asleep would curb her wrath. Or so I hoped. So I lay there, waiting for sleep to come, and it wouldn't. All I could think of was the lady's headless body and the money, safely tucked away in the hidey hole. I had been lying there for a short time when I thought I heard something bump against the window. Must be the wind, I told myself, but I don't think I really believed that. A few moments later, I heard something bump against the window again, followed very shortly by a gentle sound, which reminded me of the slight noise made by a hand when touching the glass. I heard nothing more, but I had the sense something, or someone, was pressing against the pane. I was now really glad the drapes were shut and that I had resisted any temptation to open them. I got out of bed very slowly, trying to keep the bed from creaking, and stepping softly across the hardwood floor in my bare feet, moved over to the curtains and listened. Something was out there, I was sure of it, up close to the window and trying to see in and get in the room. I listened intently, trying to hear over the thundering of my heart and the hissing of the traffic on Kerr Street. I thought I could hear something, like a soft voice, whispering or murmuring in sleep, but I couldn't make out the words, couldn't even tell if they were in English. For a wild moment, I thought about tearing open the curtains to see what, if anything, was out there. But in the end, I decided I really didn't want to know. Instead, I crept back into bed and turned off the bedside lamp and lay still in the dark, as still as I could be. When I woke up, it was to find someone, Mom when she came back from bowling, had pulled back the bedroom curtains, but hadn't opened the window. Thank God! The woman had a small head, a slim face with a pointed nose, and long, stringy black hair. Her skin was pale, almost ghostly, but her eyes are what captivated me as I lay frozen on my bed, wide, almost bulging and glowing a pronounced red. The lips were a thin slash, and they appeared to be moving. So maybe she really was speaking, really was cursing me out. I quickly shut my eyes and lay as still as I could, pretending to sleep and hoping she would go away, just go away. I heard quick, light steps outside my bedroom door, and then Mom was in the room in her nightie, bending over me and softly asking, "Are you asleep?" I lay there, deathly quiet, so quiet I almost forgot to breathe. Mom just stood there, looking down at me, and after about a minute, she left the room. I half opened my eyes and looked at the window. Nothing there. As quickly and as noiselessly as I could, I got out of bed and went and closed the drapes. I was soon back to sleep, but in the end, wished I had somehow managed to stay awake. 3. It was late at night, and I was out on the tracks in my PJs, the rocks and railway ties freezing cold under my bare feet. I was already out behind the plaza and heading straight towards the iron light bridge. The lights hanging above the north tracks, the one I was walking on, glowed an emerald kryptonite green, indicating a train was coming from the east, right behind me. I wanted to turn around and run, wanted to go home. If Mom knew I was out at night, walking the tracks in my bare feet, she'd kill me. I had to get back before she got home from bowling. Wait, she was home from bowling. And then I knew I was being summoned and there was no escape. I staggered forward like a zombie, even though I flailed my arms like I was trying to fly. A light rain began to fall, and there was a mist in the night air, giving the landscape a strange, ethereal glow, magnified by the low, sepia clouds which seemed to hang there, just above the light bridge. I was soaked to the skin, the rain augmented by my tears. I was so wet I wondered if I'd pissed myself. I passed beneath the light bridge like a condemned man, walking beneath the gallows. I kept faltering along, compelled to move towards a final destination I wanted desperately to avoid, unable to stop, unable to flee. At last I reached the spot, leaving the tracks and wading through the tall wet grass. She was waiting for me. Her head was still attached, and as I arrived, she opened her red rim eyes, and she smiled. But it was not a friendly smile. As I watched in horrified fascination, she twisted her head vigorously back and forth, and then, with a gentle pop, it detached, hovered momentarily by the trunk of the neck, and then suddenly shot forward, as if it was planning to butt heads with me, her hair flapping like wet wings, mouth agape, and shrieking a long "een" sound. I was up on the tracks, trying to run, but my legs were like lead. The stones hurt my feet, and I just couldn't seem to move. I threw a quick look over my shoulder, and the head was hanging there, following right behind me, mouth open to reveal sharp, shiny teeth, and then everything around me went white. I turned my head, only to be blinded by the headlamp of the locomotive bearing down on me at full speed, no attempt to brake. The shriek of my tormentor and the roar of the train merged into a cacophony with my screams. And then it hit me, and everything around me went black. I awoke to find myself safe in bed, but my pajamas and bed sheets were sopping, so for a few moments I was afraid I had actually pissed the bed. And would Mom have been pissed? But then I realized it was only sweat, although that was bad enough. I had had a nightmare, and had practically drowned myself with perspiration out of sheer terror. I stripped butt naked, tossed my muggy pajamas onto the floor, and pulled back my blankets to help the sheets dry out. I knew then what I must do. The next afternoon, as soon as I could get away from school, I took what was left of the money, plus what small change I possessed, put it in an old leather envelope, and put it back where I had borrowed it. I then hightailed it out of there. I wouldn't be visiting the tracks for a while. I was pretty sure she was outside my window for a few days, but I slept with the curtains pulled tight, and I never peeped. I stayed in after dark too, and resisted any urge to run across the street to the store for a bag of chips or something. I did see her one night, or at least I thought I did. Mom insisted I run across and get Irene from upstairs a deck of alpines, and I had no choice but to go. I ran across as quickly as I could, but on the way back, I saw something flit into the circle of light cast by the nearest street lamp. I bolted for the service door and didn't look back, even when I felt a flash of cold air on the back of my neck. Of course, by the end of the school year, I had forgotten all about it. I had other problems to worry about by then.